Come on, everybody, let's start the show. A quick ahoy hoy and away we'll go. Richard's got a minifig and Flynn's got a pin. The gang's all here and it's time to begin. Tricky Bricks roll call. Moto, Holly, Kara, and sometimes Blair, Clicky, Logan, Ms. Thing and Angela, and Thunderman Ho! Now you're here to grab your bricks and let's go to the Tricky Bricks Build and Check Show! Ahoy hoy, everybody! How's it going? Hope you are having an awesome day. It is Wednesday and we're back after... Golly, it's been a few days. Like, we didn't have a show Sunday. My internet decided to play games yesterday, so I didn't have a Twitch stream. So it's been 4 days since since the last time I've streamed, and I'm so glad to be back and hanging out with everybody. As you've noticed probably already, Richard is not here with me today. He unfortunately had to work, but he says an ahoy hoy to everyone. And fortunately, we have some really awesome special guests today, including a Richard. So there'll still be a Flynn and Richard on screen. It'll just be a different Richard than maybe the one that you're used to. So I hope everybody's having a good week so far. Hooded One, the windows are great. Actually, we live in a 100-year-old building, and the landlords finally decided to replace our front windows. And funny enough, like, windows that were made 100 years ago don't actually like block much noise or weather. And now all of a sudden, like, the street noise is gone, and it's warmer inside. So very, very excited to have those. So thank you for asking. So let's just go ahead and dive right in, everybody, shall we? And I'm going to welcome our special guest on today. It's one of the teams from our Lego Masters family from season 2. Really excited to invite. First up is Richard. Hi, Richard.
Hey, what's going on, Flynn? Hi, everyone.
Good to see you. So glad that you could join us today. And in a sort of last-minute change surprise, we also have Richard's partner from the show, Dave. Hi, Dave. There he is. Good to see you.
Hey, Flynn. Hey, Richard. What's up, Dave?
So, golly, I'm so excited to have y'all here. Yes, originally it was gonna be me and Richard, and we would have like had a really great show. But I'm so thrilled that we got to have you along as well, because now you were going to be on your way to Brick Fair, Virginia, if I understand. Is that correct?
I'm still going to be on my way to Brick Fair, Virginia, but I just delayed my flight one day, just because.
Just for us, I'm sure.
I didn't want to let Richard take up all the space in the room.
Right. Well, when people come to this show, they expect a Richard. So I'm glad that we could like fulfill both things, having you both on and having a Richard on the show. So it works out nicely. So real quick, we are going to actually why don't we kick off the show like we always do with pins. It's pin time. Now, Dave, I know you had one, and poor Richard, I know earlier I mentioned pins and he was like looking around the room. So maybe he won't be joining us for this part, but I know he's got something later for our minifigs. But Dave, why don't you kick off with yours?
All right. So I have my RBG Descent pin.
That is awesome.
That's how you get it.
Well, and I love Karen Hallian. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the last name right, but she's done some really amazing artwork, and I love all of her stuff that I've seen. Really
you'll find her at your Comic Cons or whatever, and her artwork, her posters are really cool, and I like this pin.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Nice, very nice. All right, well, I have one that's a favorite of mine for certain reasons that some people out there might know. I'll just say, acquainted with this character when I worked at Disney World many years ago, and that is Peter Pan, the boy who never grows up, kind of just like me. So
Who designed that
I love this. I don't know. They sell these in the park, and they never really say who the designers are. But this, whoever did this particular one, has a whole series that they did of a bunch of different characters, all in this style, and they're really, it's a really fun style.
I love it. That one. It's really cool.
It's a good one. All right. Oh, and thank you, Minifig.
I have so many. Yeah, I wish I would have had a pin ready for today. I'm upstate New York, so I don't have my collection of pins here. I have like some Super Mario ones and some DJ ones, and just, I actually share them with my son, so sometimes I wear his and he wears mine. Oh, and I have these really amazing Adventure Time ones that I got, but they were like kind of a flip of BMO. It's pretty amazing. It's like BMO as a Game Boy, and it's a glow-in-the-dark one too.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
Well, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to real quickly, I'm just bringing up the other chat window here to just real quickly say hello to everybody who's out there with us today. Always like to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. So real quick while I do that, here, sorry. Usually Richard's here to cover the gap while I'm doing technical stuff. So,
oh, good. Multitasking today.
Indeed. Okay, so just want to say hi. Apples is here from Europe. How's it going? Aubrey Kovac, Chris and Master Jaden Chalice, Darren Siegfried, Delicious Foods, Chief Brit Geek, it just slid in there. Fabufan MKE, Gary Mullane, Heather Mraz, Hooded One is here. We've got Jake Sadovich. Hey, Jake, how's it going? John Luttrell and Vicky, hi. We've got Lego Ninja 13. Yano River Blue is here. Yano of the amazing animation, that opening animation that you saw. Matthew Builds Bricks. Minifig Chick, Minifig Nick, Monica Berry, and Moto, our M-scapades for today. Rob Zaccardi and the Zaccardis are here. Hello, Lana, Elena, and Vanessa, if you're there. Robin Eklund is here. Sarah Silverman, Slug Biker, and it looks like us. And a bonsoir to Wilfred, wherever you may be, and also Zerakino Kim, because I know she's out there somewhere. And I think Lego Ninja 13 just slid in as well. I'm seeing like the list populate here as we go. But so hi to everybody, and thanks again for joining us today with our awesome special guests. This is so exciting. So before we dive into the Lego Masters chat that we will be having today, because how could we not? I like to call these episodes Masters on Masters. It sounds very NPR, right? Masters on Masters. Richard D is filling in for Richard B while he's out of town on a job. All right. So anyway, we've got a little bit of Lego news today. So the big exciting news from yesterday was, or maybe it was Monday. I start to lose track. Honestly, was the new Marvel minifigs based on the Disney Plus shows. Now, I have to say there has been a lot of chatter about this over on the internet for quite a while. Lots of rumors flying around, but Lego very quietly just sort of like announced it on Monday. No special, things ahead of time or anything. I just woke up to this and was very excited. But let's take a look at these. So I personally am incredibly excited about these. I was a big fan of the Disney Plus shows. And you all know my love of WandaVision knows no bounds. So I'm extremely excited to see Wanda here in her Scarlet Witch outfit, and also to see the white version of Vision. Which, if that doesn't make any sense to you, watch the show. I don't want to give any spoilers. But there is a lot to be excited about here. So, Richard and Dave, well, let's start with Richard. Are you excited about this series? Are you a Marvel fan?
I am a Marvel fan. I am looking forward to this series. I like anytime Lego rolls out a new CMF. I just think it's cool and creative. I think the parts are really, really helpful and exciting to see. For this one specifically, I can't say I'm more excited about this than another one. I think it's great. I like that they're just continuing to be more creative with the parts that are being incorporated into this series.
Absolutely. And I know you can't tell because he's got his Star-Lord helmet on, but that is actually Black Panther as Star-Lord. Yeah, because they're doing that. So in case you're not familiar, because the shows haven't come out yet, there's going to be another Marvel series called What If, which was based on a series of comics where they would say, what if Peggy Carter was Captain Britain, which is who you have there in the front? What if T'Challa was Star-Lord, right? And then they explored these, and you can see there's a zombie Captain America there from the Marvel Zombie series. And I have to say, I'm not quite sure what's going on with Gamora there.
That's Gamora as Thanos, or if she had.
I didn't pick up on that.
Very good. And then anybody who's watched Loki will be thrilled to see Throg, the Thor frog, which, what a bizarre choice. I'm thrilled that they did. And Alligator Loki. Now, I don't like to generally complain. I try not to complain. I try to enjoy everything that happens. But the fact that Alligator Loki does not have the crown on is a big miss, in my opinion. And I get it. They probably wanted to. They want to have that mold so they can use it, or maybe they already had it and it's going to be in a set coming out soon. But that seems a missed opportunity to me.
What I think it's also a missed opportunity, but maybe this is something maybe for a second installment in this series, is the villains. I think it would have been cool to see a Kang villain here.
Yes.
But not jump. We're excited by this, and this kind of snuck up on me. So who knows? That maybe the next one will do the same.
Yeah, I'm excited about that, and I'm really. I would have liked to have seen an Agatha, of course. Would have been a great one. So maybe we'll see some more. But glad to see Sylvie there. And again, for anybody who hasn't seen it, we're trying not to give spoilers here. But what are you most excited about in this one, Dave? Because you sound like a Marvel fan. You knew that.
A really long time Marvel fan, and I loved the shows, and I think there's so many great figures here. I would have done less What If figures and more figures from the show.
Agreed.
I really want Gugu Mbatha-Raw as Judge Renslayer. Richard and I were just talking about the movie Beyond the Lights, which if you have not seen that movie, go watch that movie. It's an amazing movie. And she is an amazing actress, and I would love to have seen her in this. And Mobius, obviously.
Yes.
With a jet ski.
I don't think anyone realized how popular Loki was going to be. I think all the other shows hit pretty hard, but there's something about Loki and the aesthetic of that show that really spoke to me.
Yeah, interesting. And it's funny. We've been watching the Umbrella Academy, and there's a very similar sort of time variance authority type outfit in that series as well. So it's been I've been experiencing lots of corporate time adjustment. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's really great.
Well, I gotta say, I'm really in particular, if you want to talk pieces, I'm really, really excited about Peggy Carter's hairpiece. That 1940s hairdo is amazing. I am in love with Monica Rambeau's hairpiece, and it's a long time coming. And I'm so glad that they have that now, and I hope that we see that in more, more sets. I really and I love seeing Sam as Captain America. That makes me just beyond happy. Yeah. And I'm just glad to see, of course, more minifigures of color overall, 3 out of the 12. I think that's great that they've been able to put that many in. And
5
hopefully we'll see more.
Figures.
What was that?
5 female figures.
Yes, and 5 female figures. I really love that they're bringing some balance into it. It's really, I think, really, really important, and I'm so thrilled. I have to say though, I've seen both of Wanda's faces, and neither of them is like angry, like she's or none of them have an aggressive face. She's like really happy that she's like messing everything up with her powers, but which I thought was kind of a funny choice, but. Yeah, I really so excited that they brought her crown piece, because to me, when I was watching the movies, that was always the thing that stuck out to me. I was like, why is she wearing a duster? Like, where's her awesome where's her awesome hairpiece? But yeah, this is going to be this is a great series, and I'm really looking forward to it. I have to say, I'm looking forward more to the parts in some cases than I am the actual like the figures themselves, but really just quite fun.
You've definitely made me want to get all of these now. Just having spent this much time looking at them and talking about them, I'm definitely more convinced that I should have all of these. So I will be going back to my bag whispering days.
Yeah, I think now I'm curious whether. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I was just about to say I'm curious whether they're going to do the bags again, because they are definitely, because there's a picture of the bag. Now, something that's, and I unfortunately I don't have it like ready to show, but something that somebody pointed out on the bag design was there is like a sort of faded back picture of some other characters, and Wolverine is one of the pictured characters.
I saw that.
Which is beyond exciting. I have all of the Wolverine. I have the Wolverine minifigs, and I'm a huge Wolverine fan from way back. So I'm hoping it probably doesn't mean anything, but I'm hoping maybe it is going to portend a resurgence of X-Men sets, which would be really cool.
I'd love to just an aside. It would be amazing to get a re-release, UCS, I don't know, of the Wolverine versus Deadpool set, which I've been very patient about getting, and because it's so hard to find, and I distinctly remember not buying it one day, and it's been gone forever, and yeah, I regret that one.
Well, I know that and probably everybody who's here has heard the story a million times, but that is how Richard and I got started in the Lego hobby. Was we got the X-Men versus the Sentinel set, and I bought it specifically because it had Storm and Wolverine in it. So yeah, that was kind of our kickoff. Yeah, right.
That's so cool.
All right, so let's go ahead and we can back to this. And now we can get in a little chat here with our guests. So why don't we start off with Richard? Could you tell everybody a little bit, like, how did you get started in the Lego hobby? How did this all happen for you?
For me, getting started with Lego was simply just getting my first set. It was, I believe it was an M-Tron set, and it was just a spaceship, just a Star Cruiser, and I thought it was really exciting. At the time, I'd never built Lego before. It was just like this new phenomenon. So I just treated it like any other toy, but I got a lot of play out of it, and like with any other vehicle type of toy. So I was really in love with Lego from that point on, and I got like a Hot Rod Club set. So 2 different worlds, from like space to city, or Lego system at the time, but a city type of environment, and then I just kept on building, and I stopped. I had a dark period when I got older. I was like kind of too old to be playing with Lego, because no one else my age was playing with Lego in like 4th and 5th and 6th grade, and then I just kind of felt like the odd one out, so I just stopped out of nowhere, and then picked it back up when I became a dad, and so I'm basically making up for all that lost time. But yeah, it's really just kind of come back organically by having a kid. Yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of similarities between me and Richard. I started my mom got me Fabuland as a kid.
Yes.
I've always been like a toy boy. You know, I just love toys. So I just kept up with Lego throughout the years. Always, even as a teenager, I would get Lego sets for my birthday and for Christmas. And then I think when I went to college, I still had the Lego. But while I was in college, Lego got the Star Wars deal. And I was still a toy boy. So I was like, all right, finally. I've been waiting all these years for Star Wars Lego. Bought those, kept buying those. I don't know if I was building as many mocks in those days, but I was definitely building the sets. And then when they announced Lego Batman, I was like, oh, you know, I have all these Lego. I should build a giant Wayne Manor and Batcave to put all the vehicles in. And I spent 5 years working on that. And through that, I really discovered the Lego community. I discovered mock pages. I discovered Bricklink. I discovered, you know, that you could go to a Lego store and use I didn't really know about the pick-a-brick wall until then. But like through that project, I discovered conventions that way. And that one project really brought me back into the hobby in a way that changed my life.
That is awesome. So can you both tell us a little bit, Richard, you can go first. Tell us about what you do outside of Lego. I mean, we all know that you're amazing builders and that you're on Lego Masters, but we don't get to know often a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff. And I'd love to know what it is that y'all do when you're not being awesome Lego Masters.
Yeah. You know, on the show, I'm billed as a DJ, but there's so many other things that I've been able to do in my professional and personal life. So in some ways it did start with DJing, but it was when you're a DJ, you're used to doing multiple things. You know, one thing that Dave says is that DJing, it makes something spontaneous look very natural and something very technical look very natural. And I've been able to pivot that into other career fields, if you will. So I come from a writing background. I've written for multiple types of magazines and the lifestyle space, music space, engineering, and it's just kind of like the nature of being a New Yorker, but also being a freelancer. So writing and DJing is just two of the things that I've juggled throughout my life, and also helping my wife with her PR company. So I've been, you know, a big role there as bring my writing expertise to that. But you know, writing in the past year allowed me to discover the Lego community. So I had been aware of the Brothers Brick for some time. I've followed you and Richard's work even before the show, and I just wanted something new and refreshing and something challenging. So I wanted to learn how to write about Lego, and I just kind of studied other posts, studied parts, and a lot of it came very naturally. So I just started writing for them, and then I started writing about Dave, and we started following each other on Instagram. He posted his Black Lives Matter mock that he made, and I was just like amazed by it and touched by it, and that's when the ball started rolling for the show. So you know, it's crazy how my professions have kind of ebbed and flow throughout my life, but I've been grateful for them to be able to provide for me in many different ways and be able to present opportunities like this.
Awesome. So Dave, how about you? What are you doing when you're not Lego mastering?
When I'm not Lego building, I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I teach at the same school that I attended. For my school is like a nursery through 12 school, so I teach at that school, which is somewhat bizarre. And I do want to say, last year I was teaching remotely, as many teachers were, and we were trying to find ways to make things special for the kids. And we had this thing that we did in person called Adventure Days, where we would take the kids out into the world and learn more about the community and to extend learning beyond the classroom. So we were trying to have special guests on, and Flynn and Richard, in the middle of doing all their promotion for the show, agreed to come on and talk to my class for an hour on Zoom, and they were amazing. And just now that I'm on the other side of it, I appreciate that you really took that time and really made a special experience for those kids. So again, thank you for that. It was really special for them and something that they will always remember.
Oh, that's so great. I'm so glad. And I just got to say, it's funny how linked in funny ways the three of us are, because I have not only done that, but I have been and am still an educator of kids through Lego. I have also been a DJ and also work at Brothers Brick, and have also at one point in my life was that writing and DJing like simultaneously. So what a cool, fun link that we all have together.
Flynn, if you don't mind me asking, did you write for like a Kotaku type of site at one point?
I wrote for. Yes, I wrote for Kotaku actually, and I also had my own site that was aimed at LGBTQ plus gamers as well for a long time. So yeah,
I actually was reading a lot of your Lego posts for Kotaku before I was even writing for the Brothers Brick. So goes way back, goes further back. Yeah,
right on. Well, that is awesome. What a great and of course we're all three Lego Masters, so there you go, right? There like it's just like the links just keep on coming. It's pretty awesome. So I know you just kind of touched on what my next question was, which was how y'all met and then ended up, auditioning together for the show. So I know you mentioned Dave's Black Lives Matter piece, and I remember vividly when that came out, and we had discussions about it in the inner sanctum of the Brothers Brick, like talking about that, and just how amazing it was, and what a fantastic meet for you guys to have met in that that way. Now, because I know there was actually a question, I can't remember who I was talking to the other day, but somebody was asking if you two knew each other before auditioning for the show, and if you had auditioned together or whether the show put you together. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that was like already a done deal. Like they were, partners from the get-go. So can you expand on that a little bit, like how that all went for you?
Yeah, I can actually start with that. So I was looking for a teammate, and I was like, I don't know who it could be. And I just felt like, because of my familiarity with Dave and his work and the way he builds and so many things that we had in common, it just took one phone call. And I called Dave in the midst of grocery shopping and and then like pulling up to my front door with the groceries in the car with my wife waiting for me to come inside. And then I was just like, and like, I don't know, an hour and a half later, we had hit it off. And I was like, I think I have my partner now. Like, this is incredible. And yeah, it really just all fell into place. So, long story short, we may not have like known each other personally before the show, but it felt like we've known each other for years because we had so much in common and we just started bridging the gap.
Yeah, I think so. I auditioned for the show last year with my wife, and we did pretty well, but obviously we weren't on the show. And she did not want to do the audition process again. She was like, reality TV is not for me. Especially, she saw that like some of the way that people are treated, especially the way women are treated by the audience on the show, is not great sometimes.
That's absolutely true.
Which is
sad,
really unfortunate, and needs to change.
Yes.
And I was like, well, maybe, this is the middle of a pandemic. I don't know if I want to be on the show. A couple people asked me, and I basically said no. Richard asked me, and I was like, looked more closely at his Instagram. I was like, actually, this is the partner I've been waiting for. And like Richard said, we never have built together before the audition process. But we spent so much time talking on the phone, and I'd say it's analogous to being at the beginning of like a romantic relationship. Like you're on a first date, you're asking them all these questions. You're trying to find out as much as you can, how many connections you can make. Because I think what really makes our partnership work is that we understand where the other person is coming from, because we've had we may not have been, we're not brothers. We didn't grow up together. We're not husband and wife, but we've had a lot of these conversations. We know where the other person's coming from on things. So when we throw out a build idea, I know the history of why that's important to Richard. I know where that's coming from, so that I can say, I see what you want to do, and let's find a way to make that happen.
So what you're saying is you swiped right on Richard.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And I responded, I slid into his DMs real quick.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and I remember that at I'm trying to remember which one of you did an Ask Me Anything, and somebody asked if y'all were a couple, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad someone's carrying the mantle.
Yeah. You gotta do it. I mean, I'm Richard, so why not, right? It's passing the baton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's so awesome, and I'm so I gotta say, y'all have just like knocked it out of the park on every challenge so far, like all the ones that we've seen, and I'm confident that you continue to do so. And so why don't we take a look at some of all of your builds. Richard was kind enough to send me some pictures, because I gotta say, and I know y'all are having this experience, but the photographs that Fox sent us of our builds were never amazing. And I've been writing articles about the show for the Brothers Brick, and so I get the photos, and I gotta say, like, I nearly cried when I got the picture of your beautiful headdress, because the colors were so washed out on it that it looked like it was like gray and tan. And I was like, no, y'all need to up your game on these photos, or pay some intern to color correct it for you or something. But so I'm grateful that you had these great photos to show. Now, they're not going to be in order of the show. They're just going to be in order of how they come up on the thing here. So we're actually starting out with the most recent one. So let's sorry, let me quickly get this up here. All right. So from the most recent episode, the Rad Devil, this was so great. And if you do not want spoilers about the episode that this is from, which was the last episode, cover your ears now. Because I'm just saying, because we're going to be talking about this. So not only is it an amazingly cool build, but you took the top spot with this one for this episode. Just so fantastic. So tell us a little bit about how did this all come about?
Kick this one off, Dave.
Yeah. So when they gave us the brief for this, they talked a lot about, you need to make sure that your car has stuff on it, because the cars are going to be ramming into each other. And if you're driving just the chassis, then you're eliminated, right? And the other thing that they stressed a lot was there's going to be hazards on the ground. There's going to be, debris. We didn't know there were going to be tires on the ground, but they did say there's going to be debris. And they really warned us, don't build below the chassis, because your vehicle is going to get stuck. So I know a lot of people online are saying, build something to go underneath everybody else's car. They stress to us, do not put anything below the level of the chassis. So
right.
Our concept was, let's keep everything tight inside that chassis. Like, imagine you drew a box around the chassis, and let's keep everything as tight as we can in there, and then build the components of the car coming out from that are really connected well to what we have. So there were some like Technic beams that were attached. I think, were they screws, Richard, or was it glue?
No, there were screws. Yeah, they were screwed in.
They were screwed in. And so we kind of made these like wedge shapes to go in between those plates so that there was no way that anything would be coming off. It was really, really secure in there. And then there were places where we put some details around the edges to cover some of it up, but it's really close in there so that you could hit it and it would just stay. The idea was that this could take hits. And then the other concept which really benefited us was keeping those wheel wells uncovered and keeping it light. Because what wasn't really shown in the episode, they showed it with Wayne and Zach, but most of the cars that were eliminated were because they just couldn't drive anymore because they ran over something, whether it be a tire on the course or Lego, but their cars just didn't run anymore. And ours, one, because of the design, but two, because of Richard's excellent driving. Really, really great driving. Because
I gotta give you.
He'll tell you the story, and I'll let Richard tell that story right now.
No. Finish, Dave. Sorry.
Well, I gotta say, I gotta give you props, Richard, because we had one of those. Like when I saw the controller that y'all were using, we bought one of those for our dog, like to chase around the little car. All he does is stand and bark at it, but I could not drive with that thing. And I was looking at that going, oh, I'm so glad this was not one that we did. Because first of all, we're not car people. And second of all, I would have just like ran it off I would have pulled a Caleb and Jacob. I'll just say that probably immediately.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we had a chance to test drive it. It was not easy, even during the testing phase. Just trying to put myself, and we had breaks in between. So it wasn't like we went from building into the demolition derby. So there was, I still had to warm up in the beginning, but it was a lot of fun to drive it. It was nerve-wracking. I had like this laser focus on the car as it was driving because there's a lot happening on the course, and I'm actually going to get into more of this during my Ask Me Anything today on Instagram. But like, there's this, it feels like it feels very slow. Like you want the car to go faster, but you can only contend with what you have. You can only work with what you have. And
right.
I wanted to go faster, but at the same time, I'm glad that it didn't go as fast as like maybe Caleb and Jacob's or maybe Zach and Wayne's, because like, yes, we all were set at the same speed, but based on the weight, they all moved differently on the course.
Right.
So, it was slow and steady. Like I said, we did get stuck under a tire, but the rocking motion back and forth, it allowed us to kind of like loosen it up. And then there was a shot, because I saw this after the second or third time I watched the episode, that I think it was Natalie Michelle that bumped us, and then we actually just got loose off of that tire. So a little bit of impact actually went a long way in our favor. And another thing that wasn't seen is that we were bumper to bumper with Zach and Wayne's car, and my goal was to try to push them off of the opposite end of the course.
Brutal.
Yeah, but it was really hard to do. So they started pushing me backwards, and I was like, okay, I'm either gonna fall off like Caleb and Jacob, or I could do something more strategic. So I reversed into a U-turn, and then they went straight forward into the pile of debris and tires. And that was the demise of their car.
Yeah, Richard pulled a Top Gun, hit the brakes, and watched them fly by.
Yes.
That's awesome. Oh, my goodness.
That was it.
All right. Well, let us move on to the next one. What do we got up next here? The Hat's Incredible episode. Yeah. Now, this has got to be, I know, a huge up and down emotional roller coaster. I know, like, I can't watch the bridge episode. Like, I can't watch it because it's heartbreaking for me to watch. And so I can only imagine that this is like a difficult subject to revisit, probably. But really, in my opinion, this was one of the best ones out there. Like, visually, it was gorgeous. I spent quite a bit of time living in New Orleans, and in being involved in Mardi Gras, and I've seen Carnival in Rio, and so I definitely like this is something that I understand, and I just think it was absolutely stunning. And I know that there was a lot of I know a lot of your builds have a story behind them and have a meaning and a message. And this one, I know that there was a couple of messages in here that kind of got lost in editing. And so would you like to take a minute to kind of talk about that?
Yeah, I'm going to just start with saying thank you. And it means a lot for us to make something that has that much pride and in heritage and identity, and for it to connect with you, Flynn, and the many people who have seen it and have been affected by it in a positive way. It means a lot to us, and we couldn't have imagined that it would have done that. So, and thank you for the things that you said also on Talk Brick Masters. But it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's like it was the intention surpassed and superseded the execution, in my opinion. And Dave, I mean, you can speak more to that as well.
So obviously it looked good, and there are many changes now in hindsight that we know that we could have made to make it work. I don't think that the design idea is flawed, but the way we executed it is flawed. But going into the challenge, we had pink. And I think I was thinking about, as a kindergarten teacher, kids are always talking about, oh, that's pink is a girl's color. And I always say, how could it be a girl's color? It's just a color. And, we as educators are talking a lot more about gender identity these days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really wanted to use this as a chance to talk about the celebration of Lego, as we were trying to mirror the diversity of elements, the diversity of color, with the diversity that's now starting to happen in the Lego community. And we really wanted this to speak to LGBTQIA+ rights in the world and in the Lego community. And Richard said, let's take that idea and let's marry it with a hat. So we took these two ideas of his heritage in Caribbean culture and the idea of pride, and we put the two together. And I couldn't have been happier with what we were doing. I think it didn't turn out, obviously, the way we would have liked, but I didn't think Richard was going to get one step down the runway without it falling over. And he made it all the way to the end, because people said, why didn't you try it on? And I was like, at least we got it on the model.
Yep.
It looked good then, because if it had fallen off by trying it on, we wouldn't have had time to recover. So at least it looked good in the pictures that you're showing, right? We had something that at one point we could present and say we had something finished that we're proud of and how it looks. And it didn't make it down the runway completely, but sometimes you have to take that big risk.
Yeah, it was I know for all of us watching, it was that like, oh my God, he's going to kill Will. And then like, oh no, he saved it. And then, oh, it went back the other way. It was like, it was really one of those like, and I hate to say it, but like made for reality TV moments, kind of like Aaron and Christian's tower, like that's, and I wanted to, I'm interested, like having, obviously watched season 1. Were you surprised? Because I know I have been, and Richard and I have talked about this a couple of times, is that this season, like our season, seemed very, very focused on storytelling. And this season seems to have been very focused on structure. Many of the things seem to be about, is it going to stay together? Is it going to fall apart? Is it going to make it this far? Like, can you get it this far? Were you did that make you nervous at all? Like going in, or were you surprised? Were you expecting more story sort of driven challenges, or how did that go?
Oh, I just want to pause. Can everybody check the time, please?
Oh yes, you're right. Oh, thank
46.
you.
Yeah.
It is time for that, and we'll get back to that question in just a minute. But everybody, it is time for the pause that refreshes. That's right. It is Logan Cookie Time. Oh, over here, buddy. There he is. Logan is here. Everybody's favorite cookie hound. It is Logan. All right, everybody, say hi to all your fans.
Logan.
All right, and one. All right, and you only get two today because I don't have a third one. Sorry, Stinky. All right, and one more. Yay, Logan. Woo! That's right, everybody. It's the reason that you come to see the show, besides the amazing guests. Logan Cookie Time. He's still sitting here like, where's the third one? Sorry, buddy.
That was so great.
Yeah, another amazing animation by Yano River Blue, who does all of our animations for us. So anyway, so back to the question: were you thrown off at all by the sheer amount of structural challenges?
Yes.
It's not what you expected. Like, if you watched last season, you were like, okay, story, color, those are the things that matter. If you have those two things, you're good to go. You could have all the story and color you want this year, but if your build is not strong enough, then you can forget it.
Yeah. There are just so many variables that we just could not anticipate. And even when we do anticipate them, there is some other underlying thing that is happening that we just can't really, you can't factor it in. It's just also just the way that the ball bounces in your favor or against you.
Sure. Well, and those structural challenges really are, quite difficult. And I think it also, of course, I mean, not to take too cynical approach on it, but I'm sure that, the explosion challenge from last season probably generated a lot of interest. And, seeing Aaron and Christian's tower fall over generated a lot of interest. And I'm sure they were like, okay, kids love to see, to see things explode and get wrecked. And I'm sure, Dave, as an educator and as somebody who works with Lego, I can go with a classroom of kids and be, we're going to build a Lego city, but they would much rather destroy the Lego city. They have much more fun with that. Whenever we build catapults, it's always super popular because they get to knock something over and watch it shatter. So
yeah, I mean, maybe that even just comes back to the idea of action being a part of the Lego play. So yes, I mean, you can bring action to it, but is there some type of way to manipulate Lego or to construct it in a way where there's action? And the first thing I just thought of was spring-loaded minifigures or powered up functions or a pullback motor, for instance. So all of these things do connect to structure, but also create action and excitement.
I mean, I think if you have a kid, or if you remember as a kid, you appreciated your model for how it looked, or your set for how it looked, but what you were really excited about was the play features, right? And
right.
How do you have play features on Lego Masters? It's hard to do because you're not going to be like, and look, you can do this and this and this. So they're kind of creating the play features for you.
Do that and get eliminated. I can tell you that from experience.
But you try. That's what's important. And you make something that you're proud of.
Right. Exactly. All right. So speaking of things that you're proud of, excellent. Thank you for.
We are proud of that
segue.
We're very proud of it.
Yes.
As you should be.
No
it was
regrets.
Again one of my favorites of that episode. I just thought it was just so stunning, and I wish they had taken the time to let you tell about the pride aspect of it. I think that would have been great. But I was so glad to when I found out about it later, I was so touched and just and thrilled that was something that you decided to include.
And that the elements are configured like feathers as well.
Yes, I noticed that. It's just it's such a beautiful take on it. Okay, so next up, we have the what was on our time the explosion challenge. They called it the hero shot challenge for this. Wow, I was so blown away by this because when I saw y'all pick that get the violin guy, I had that same feeling I had when poor Mark and Boone got the laptop, half a laptop. And like them, y'all made the best out of it. Like, I can't imagine a better way to have treated this particular figure and this build than what you did here. You did it's just incredible and so clever. So for those who didn't see it, or maybe it's been a little while since you saw the episode, can you tell us a little bit of the story behind this?
Go for it, Dave.
When Richard and I did our many talks about the show, one of the things we said was we need to figure out what is special about us. What got us on the show? What can we do to set us apart from other teams? And we thought there's 4 things about us that we think are different. One is that we're both lead parents. And I as an educator, I like to use that term. Sometimes when you're in a parenting situation, there's one person who's the lead parent who takes care of the everyday things, and there's another person who's the support parent. And that role can switch, like one month is one and the other, but for both of us, we're mostly the lead parent. The other thing is that we are strong believers in environmental issues and sustainability. So this is one that we thought, I'll come back to it, but I just want to touch on all of them. The other one is that we're both city dwellers. We've lived in the same big cities our entire lives. Richard in New York, in Brooklyn, and me in Chicago. And the last thing is that we're activists. We met through activism. We're proponents of speaking up about issues that are important to us. And this is one where we wanted to speak up about environmentalism. And I had no idea what to do with Violin Guy. In fact, I was kind of upset that we had this person who was in reality and everyone else had something that was, almost everyone had something that was in fantasy. And what was weird was that, it wasn't all just one collectible minifigure series, right? They picked and chose from different series. So it was like, ha ha ha, this is going to be real funny. Somebody's going to be really mad about this. But Richard was like, it's kind of like maybe we could do something about the environment and music. And I couldn't believe he came up with that idea. And Richard really drove the ideas on this build. I think one of my other favorite ideas, hi Dawn.
Hey Dawn.
Jamie came to us and we were talking about the factory, and Jamie always wants conflict. Jamie loves conflict.
Yes.
And he's like, there needs to be more conflict. I was like, what's more conflict than us against the environment right now? Yeah. That's the biggest problem in the world. There's no bigger problem. But Richard was like, all right, he was like, what if the factory came alive? And I was like, I don't want the factory to come alive, Jamie. But Richard was like, what if we had hands coming out of the factory? And I know you can kind of see them on the sides reaching out. And then on the top, there's the eyes. You can kind of see them in the picture.
A little bit, yeah.
But I was very resistant to that idea. But Richard, you can see it much better in this picture, that it's kind of a face at the top. Yep. But Richard really was able, Richard is very good at convincing me of things slowly over time. I'm like, I don't have time to build hands. There's so many other things I have to build. And Richard's like, you can do it. You can do it. I'll take on this. And it just, they didn't really come out too much on the show, but it really helped make it a full build, that suggestion of doing that. And Richard really did a great job of convincing me that it was worthwhile to do.
It's interesting. I hear this. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's interesting. I hear this so much from other teams, and also, like from our experience, is there always seems to be one person who's like hyper focused on the bigger picture, and another person who's like hyper focused on the details, and you both sides end up having to kind of like pull the other one out in one time or another. I know for like, I heard when I talked to Randall, like he spoke to that about he and Sarita had that kind of have a push and pull thing. I know for Richard and I, especially during the bridge challenge, he was just like so hyper focused on getting it built because we got that, the penalty at the beginning. And I knew, just given the parts that were left by the time we made it up there, that it probably wasn't going to hold a lot of weight and that we had to focus on making it beautiful. And there was that sort of convincing that I had to do of like, yes, you can focus on this, but we need to, and we also need to think about this. But I think that's what makes a great team. Right. Like if you were both just hyper focused on the bigger picture and there was nobody, thinking about the details or vice versa, then you're going to end up down a hole. So I think I think that's a plus. Definitely.
Yes. Thank you.
And sorry, what were you going to say, Richard? I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
It's no big deal. It's I just think that Dave and I really came together on this challenge as we did on every other one as well. But I feel like I learned so much on this specific challenge from Dave in terms of like composition and force perspective, that it really opened my mind to the possibilities of Lego. First of all, we have a triangular base plate, which was great to see and great to build upon. And to be able to fit all of that stuff in a very balanced way, it was. I'm looking at it again, and I feel like I'm experiencing this for the first time all over again. And yeah, I think it's a testament to the idea of showing and not telling. I think a lot of times we as storytellers or we as builders, in this case, we wanted to show that we had the conflict. We felt like the conflict was very intuitive about the environment versus us, or us versus the environment, and us being the one who, or humanity contributing to this urban blight. And I felt like we did need to show it in some way, and something as simple as hands and then this top of the building with the face, it just really rounded everything out.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel like it was that's something that we talk about often because we do bi-weekly build challenges here on the show. And we do let people give a little bit of story, like telling, but it is that showing, not telling part that I think is so important to be able to stand on its own. Because if you didn't have that description, would you be able to tell what's going on? And I can 100% tell what's going on here without the benefit of having to have it be explained. And I think that's a mark of a really fantastic build. And of course, the way that it exploded was just it's just perfect. Like watching those musical notes just like fly, it was magical. Like it really transported. I thought that was really fantastic.
I was inspired to make one as well. So
awesome.
A little music note.
So cool.
I had to have one for myself.
Oh, bye, Moto. We'll see you later. Thanks for stopping in.
See you, Moto.
All right. Okay, so now this is going way back. This is going back to episode 1.
Yes.
The iconic eats. I know you're probably sick of hearing me say this, but I loved this one. I really did. Like every single one of your builds, there's not one that I was like, no. Like every single one was just so much fun, and I loved seeing this come around the corner. And I loved your figures and that pizza. So I know that just from experience that was done with Mixels ball joints, because that's a favorite. One of me and Richard's bag of tricks is that sort of like creating a mesh using plates and that. Which actually ended up being our downfall in the explosion challenge, because we originally went down that road and it didn't work out. And about 4 hours into the challenge, we had to completely change directions. But it's masterfully done here. And I know that there were some things right after that episode. I remember I messaged Dave and was like, was so great. This was so cool. And I know you mentioned that there was a couple of things that didn't end up being shown or didn't work maybe. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So again, I actually think we got some of our best feedback from the check-ins on this episode, because we were thinking about it as like a battle between Chicago and New York. Because, you know, if you're from New York or Chicago, you love your city. I mean, New Yorkers love New York and think that nobody can ever measure up to New York. And if you've ever met anyone from Chicago, all they can do is talk about how great their city is. So I immediately, when they were giving the challenge, I was like, okay, motion. I've done a motion before. I've done it with my son's rotating letters. I made a build for him. I'm going to lean on that as my motion, because it gets a lot of motion at a really cheap price. Like, I know how to do it. It'll make a lot of motion on the build, and it won't take long to do it. So I was immediately calculating the letters in Chicago and New York. And when I pitched it to Richard, I was like, okay, Richard, how many letters in Chicago? And he was like, 7. And then I said, all right, how many letters in where you're from? And he was like, Brooklyn, 8. I was like, no, Richard, you're from New York. You're not from Brooklyn.
No, but that's how people in New York talk about
absolutely.
Where they're from. It's by borough or by city. It's not by the state.
That's right. So I said, no, you're from New York. And then I was like, okay, what's the iconic New York food? And he was like, pizza. And I was like, well, the iconic Chicago food is a Chicago-style hot dog. Because, like, we have deep dish pizza in Chicago, but as I always say, we only feed that to tourists because it's disgusting.
There were a lot of laughs in this one
that
you did not get to see. It was insane.
So there were so many. I loved this challenge. I thought this was the most fun challenge. We knew we had to raise everything up, so we built the tablecloth to get a little more height out of it, because the base they gave us on was only like a third of that height.
Right.
And then that also gave us a place to hide the mechanics for the spinning letters. And then we wanted to have the food go up together, and I think that turned out amazing. And, you know, Jamie was like, well, we need some characters. Again, Jamie wanted characters. And, you know, the hot dog, I definitely could have built that more efficiently. But I was like, I'm just going to build it the way I know I would build it at home. I'm going to use all the plates in the world and make a Lowell Sphere hot dog and a Lowell Sphere bun. Boy, that took a long time. Compared to the pizza, which the pizza looks awesome. Richard did a fantastic job on the pizza, especially the parts usage on those toppings. He just was so creative.
But you had way more toppings for yours, so
there were so many toppings I had to put on that.
And, I mean, as he was building the toppings, Flynn, I was like, wait, there's another topping? And another topping? Like, how does anyone eat this? You have to just put it in a plate. Like, you can't just eat this with your hands. It's a feast.
Oh my goodness. So with like 2.5 hours, I think with 4 hours left, this was how long was this challenge, Richard? 14 hours?
14 hours, yeah. Or
so
16. I feel like it was 16.
No, it was 14. I think it was 14.
Okay.
The first episode, I think you get the most time because you have no idea where anything is in the brick pit. Like,
that's right.
You need that amount of time just to figure out how the system works. You walk onto the set, and that's the first time you see the brick pit. And the first time they announced the challenge, that's the first time you get to touch the brick pit. So just trying to figure out where everything was. That's why I think we had the most time for this one.
Yeah.
We built the chefs, and I was like, I think I can get them to move. I think I can work out a mechanism. And
that was in like the last hour, right?
I think it was the last 2 hours that I had to tear out the base to put another motor in coming from the battery pack, connect it to the chefs, and the chefs, it was pretty cool. It wasn't like a super big movement, but they would like their arms would wave, and they kind of bobbed as they went. So it was kind of like, like a float, like on a float. Like it's not huge movement. But it like that. And so I think a half hour left was when we got it to work. And finally, when it was coming around the corner, like you said, Flynn, like the cool thing about ours was nobody saw ours because we built it facing toward us. So in the whole room, nobody knew what it looked like. So when it came around, there was like an audible gasp because people were amazed because no one had seen it. I mean, it's not the Twin Dragons. The Twin Dragons obviously are amazing, but I think it was the surprise that no one had seen it. And the chefs were moving, but every float hit this little bump on the track. And ours hit that bump, and the gear must have slipped, and the chefs stopped working. And I was a little heartbroken by it, but I still think it was one of our best builds thus far.
It's fantastic. And I'm sure Mark and Boone can talk to you about bumping and gears slipping and causing a miss at the end. But, the thing is, like, fortunately you had those letters going for you, right? Like those were working. And really, I think even, I don't know, it was one of those things like being in theater, like you always know that like even if you screw up a line, like the audience doesn't know because they don't have a script in their hand. So, nobody knew. I was still thoroughly impressed, and I would have been just as impressed had they been moving as well. But I just overall, it was such an impressive piece that was almost like the additional movement was also like just like gravy, right? Like that was like the extra. And I think it was just so beautifully done. An admirable job for sure. Awesome. All right. Well, let's take a look at will it work? Let's see. Can we see it in motion?
Yeah.
There you go. That's so cool. You get to see the motion. Nice. We don't usually get to see that.
I think that one thing that I love about the lettering, which, I mean, if you're not from Chicago and New York, that's the New York flag. That's the Chicago flag.
Yeah.
Oh, nicely done. Very good. One, I also, too, love that you each worked on your city's respective food item. Like, that's really fantastic.
Yeah, I got to say, this was my favorite, my favorite challenge, but the Rad Devil was the most fun challenge.
Sure.
Yeah. But they're both fun, just,
All right.
different reasons.
Speaking of things falling over, the Make and Shake challenge. This was and I have to admit to being surprised that they put this one right after the challenge where they were blowing things up. Seemed like maybe they could have spaced that out a little bit, but again, an amazing job from the two of you. I love the color. So now I am a math idiot. So if you could please explain the math secret behind this, because I tried to do it once when we talked about this episode and I made a fool of myself. So I would love to hear it directly from you.
Yeah, I'm also the second math idiot in the room, but when Dave explained to me the Fibonacci sequence, I was like, I know what that is. Can you explain it? No. and then he just kind of went with it, and then like we had like a little math lesson. It was kind of cool. I was like, wow, this is the most time anyone is going to sit with me and teach me some math right now that's not my son. And this is great because, before this, during the school year, my son is teaching me all of his new techniques because kids are learning math a lot differently from the way that I learned it. So thank you to Dave, and take this one away because you just set the bar really high on this one.
So, like Randall, I also went to architecture school, but I didn't finish architecture school. I quit and decided it wasn't for me because I didn't like the crits. And lo and behold, I'm on a Lego Masters where I get critted 5 times a day. And
if not more, but
if not more.
Mm-hmm.
But so the first idea was, let's build it like a skyscraper. So the idea is the Chicago-style skyscraper. You put all the structure on the outside so that the floors on the inside can be empty and have as much surface space as possible. So again, we put the structure on the outside with Technic and beams unlocking. Okay, so that's basic. You know that our structure's on the outside. That's what made it different from everyone else's. And what that meant is that we could build ours to height super duper fast. And so in half the time of the episode, we were already at height, and everybody else was like, what kind of structure do you have on the inside? And we were like, nothing. And they didn't believe us. No one believed us when we said nothing. And then they were like, what's up with the color and the numbers? And the idea was, okay, if we're going to put the structure on the outside, let's, again, use story and color, which I thought were really important things from last season. So let's put those on the outside. What the tower looks like is going to be the story. So the Fibonacci sequence is an Italian mathematician who said this is an exponential equation. And it kind of, if you've ever seen the drawing of a spiral and that predicts the golden ratio, that's where this comes from. So it starts, it's like incremental, just like the Richter scale or the Brichter scale. 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 2 is 3, 2 + 3 is 5, 3 + 5 is 8, 5 + 8, 13. But I think what a lot of people missed was that the colors, the amount of each color is the same as the numbers. So like the first level, the regular blue is 11 bricks high. The next one, 11 bricks high. The 2, 22 bricks high. The 3, 33 bricks high. And the 5 was 55 bricks high. So that it actually told the story literally and figuratively.
That is some dedication to the theme. It's so great. And now, and please remind me, how far up the scale did you make it?
We made it to 11.
Yes, nicely done. Turn it up to 11.
Richard, do you want to tell so there was an extended cut in the weekly breakdown of what happened for this episode. Do you want to tell it, Richard?
Yeah, so after we reached 11 on the Brichter scale and it came crashing down, at least just the base of it, so much of the build was intact that Will picked it up and was like, does anyone want to come up and throw it back on the ground and try to smash it? And we didn't think that was a good idea because it was so heavy. And Will was like, well, what if I break it over my knee? We're like, no, don't do that, because you have to remember it has these the Technic tube beams on the outside locking it in. It's just so strong, like you could really hurt yourself.
It's not gonna crack in half.
It's not.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. So he just threw it back on the ground again, and it still barely did any damage. So it was a testament to our technique.
Fantastic. All right. Okay, so the one floating brick challenge.
Yeah.
Again, another beautiful message in this one. And in a surprise to no one, because I get very verklempt about lots of things, but like this, like when I heard you tell this story, it just really struck me, like what a beautiful message. And I was also just so incredibly impressed by not only that obviously it was all hanging from one brick, but that you created this very difficult balance with those clouds, like and maintained a really beautiful balance with those. So first of all, for those who didn't get to see it, can you relay the story again for us?
Yeah, so this is the modern tale of Jack and the Beanstalk. It's what you know, but with a twist. So what we did was instead of Jack stealing from the giant, this time Jack wants to redistribute wealth, and the giant is not hoarding his wealth this time. This time he wants to think of those who have less than, and also consider the plight of those below. So we created this touchstone moment, kind of like the creation of Adam by Michelangelo, and
Yep.
And so we had Jack reaching out to the giant. He's grabbing the coin from him, but he's also handing him the coin. It's just like a special moment between the two of them. And so, yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I had not read Jack and the Beanstalk in a long time, so there were elements to the story where I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened, and that happened too, but maybe it's for the best. So now it's modernized and it's a little bit more balanced, pun intended.
Yeah. Well, it's so great, and I love your figures. I'm jealous of your figure making. Like that is something that we definitely struggled with, and I'm also thrilled to hear the classic art reference, because Richard and I talked a lot about classic art when we were doing ours with our movie mashup build. And we definitely, like, both versions of it were based on like classic art pieces. And I think people were confused a little bit when we talked about it. They were like, wait, what? But I am so glad to hear, and admittedly, the one, the classic art piece that you guys used was much more well-known than the one that Richard picked for ours. Right? So, but really, and I think too, I think that strikes a chord in people, even if they don't look at that and go, oh, the Sistine Chapel, right? Like they still, that iconography lives in their brain in some little place, and it speaks to them, right? In some way. I think it's just really great. And and congrats on the animation of this. Was really fun.
It was so much fun. I mean, that's the thing that I look forward to the most in these episodes is the animation, and something that really, really brought that joy of that childlike joy from even the first season. So it's really a testament to the production and to our ability to tell that story so that they can animate it.
Well, again, like right here, it's what we were just talking about, showing, not telling. Like you can see exactly what's happening here, right? Like we might not know all the little nuances, like the story nuances, but we know, oh, he's not stealing. This is actually a giving, right? Like this is a sharing. And I think that's just so beautiful that you were able to just push that another great story and meaningful story forward in your build. So
and it's also funny because even though you can't see it, the Giants' plumber's crack is showing. So
I heard about that, and I have yet to be able to see it, but I love that.
It's nowhere. I don't think you could see it anywhere, unfortunately.
They were probably like, no, sorry guys, we can't do this. It's not something we're going to be able to do. But wow. Well, what a fantastic just like group of builds that you've put together. And I know that we're all really excited to see what else that y'all are going to come up with in the next episodes. I know there's a windmill challenge coming up, which we saw a little bit of a preview of. So looking forward to that. Now it is another week, right? Yet before the show comes back again, right? Because we just missed this last night, and then we're going to miss again next week, and then we're back on August 10th, I believe.
Correct.
For the next episode. They're really stretching it out. You guys are getting a long run.
I appreciate that they're stretching it out, but also I know people want to see what happens next. Like people are somewhat disappointed that they're not able to catch the episodes every week.
Right. And well, and when they first announced that they were going to be doing that, I even expressed my dismay at not only just wanting to see what happens next, but also just in the matter of like people are watching and you get used to a schedule. And then all of a sudden, I mean, like even when you first start on YouTube, the first thing everybody tells you is consistency. You have to show up at the same time every week. And even if you're only going to be on once a week, do that. And so I know that it's confusing for people and they're like, wait, when is it on again? Wait, no, now it's not on again. Okay, well, now it's on. Oh, now it's gone for 2 more weeks. And it can be confusing. But I think also yeah, and I also think too, hopefully, that it's building up, though, anticipation, that people are going to be excited for it to come back and to get to see all of the amazing builds. So, well, thank you both so much for coming on today, and Dave, thank you for changing your flight just so you could be here. It was very thoughtful.
Yes. I'm glad you were here, Dave.
Well, I really wanted to be able to, talk to both of you about it and about your builds. And this is actually the first time that we've been able to have. We had Moto and Paris on, but to really like kind of just sit and talk to you and go through the builds that you've created. So and to get you to talk about them with you having so many stories and thoughtful ways that you've produced your pieces, it was great to be able to hear the story straight from you. So thank you for that so much.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about them, because we really do have a lot to say about our builds. And I will put a plug in for our Instagram stories because we're posting so much about the behind the scenes stories and our process that like follow us on Instagram and check out our story. Even if you don't follow us, just go look, because if you want to hear more of these stories, we really break it down and how we made it work. And we have good images too.
Yes. And also I understand that there's a giveaway happening.
Yes. So if you like the Rad Devil, we have made our own miniature copy of the Rad Devil. And this one has a pullback motor. So we're giving away one of these to somebody. All you have to do is check out our Instagram pages, follow, share, and mention, and you could win your own copy for free. We'll ship it to you.
Awesome. So run, don't walk to Instagram and check all that out. So before we go, I just want to give everybody a reminder that we are in the middle of a 2-week free build challenge. So build whatever you want. It is open. It's like the final episode of season 1 of Lego Masters. Build whatever you want. And really, really looking forward. I've already seen a few sneak peeks of some stuff on Instagram that people are building, looking really, really good. If you are wanting to, excuse me, if you're wanting to participate in another challenge, and there are many of them, Jen from Brick Fam Builds, who you may remember from when we did our Disney Habitats challenge with her, is doing a minifigure CMF series habitats challenge. So that is a lot of fun. It's just over the next couple of days, and this was mine that I made for today. You can go up to Instagram and see it. But yeah, like I did a whole super scary, big surprise. Whoops! Oh, there he goes.
There's a surprise.
Yeah, see, just like the explosion challenge, I would have lost because my minifigure fell off the thing. No surprise there. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. So definitely participate in that if you're looking for like a quick and easy little build. I will say that this got me out of a building funk that I was in. So it was really fun to be able to build small that way. That was kind of that's how Richard and I started building, actually, was doing these small little vignettes. And that's kind of my favored way of building. So lots of fun. But anyway, thank you, everybody, so much in the chat for coming and hanging out. Thank you, Richard and Dave, for coming and talking about all of your amazing stories. Oh, yes, and minifigs. We gotta do quick fave minifigs before we go. All right, Richard, what have you got for us?
I don't know if you could see. It's might be too bright, but it's a minifigure that I made at the new Lego store in New York, the new flagship. So this is a customizable one on their little kiosk, and I put DJ Treats on there. And I really love this head from the video set. So
Yes.
this little like visor with the waveform on it, not the waveform, but the levels, and
Yes.
then on the back it says Brooklyn. You can't see it because it's so bright, but yeah, and then it comes with a little brick that says my name and then Lego New York on it.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm gonna have to go there now so I can get a special minifig. That's awesome. Did you have something, Dave?
I'll just show Kamala Khan.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I have the fig, but not the arm part. That's so awesome. Oh, very
that.
Cool.
It's such a good one. So
I mean, I'm a fan of Marvel. That's one of my favorite books. If we're gonna have an Arab American superhero, and we're gonna have a show soon, so
yes, very excited about that.
Popular.
And I've got mine is 2, but they're kind of the same thing. I have Hector Barbosa and Skeleton Barbosa from Pirates of the Caribbean. I love these. I think they're very. I especially love the skeleton with a beard. It makes me very happy.
Yes. Oh, I didn't realize that. It's so wacky.
I know it's really very silly. But okay, everybody, thank you again for coming and joining us today. I have got an appointment that I'm going to have to run away to, so unfortunately we have to go now because I would love to sit and just talk with y'all even more. But we will do it again for sure because we are family now, which is just so awesome. So glad to have more folks in the family. So. Everybody, until next time, don't forget to please. Good. Sorry, I suddenly got caught up in technical things. Until next time, don't forget to stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, wear that mask when and where you still need to, get that vaccine as soon as you possibly can, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.